Hello, everyone, and welcome to Birdview's weekly workshop. I'm excited to have you all join today. Our weekly workshops take place every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern and 10 p.m. PST. So we cover a different topic each week, and you can register for our weekly workshops through our website under the Events tab, or you can simply click on the link that's displayed on the screen right now. I encourage you all to join as many of these sessions as possible to learn tips and tricks on how to make the most of Birdview for your projects and for your work. With each session, we do start with a demo on the topic that we are about to cover. And we use the last 10 minutes to go over any questions or feedback that you may all have. So please feel free to send in your questions in the chat. We also have a question answer tab within the Zoom link. Or you can simply raise your hand virtually and we'll get to your questions at the end of the demo part of the session. Our topic today is understanding Birdview's workload management view. So we're going to start by going over the basics of the workload page and the purpose of the fields that you see in the view. We'll then learn how to distribute hours by using front load and backload options, as well as how to evenly spread them through the duration of the tasks, as well as customize them specific to the way that you would like to. We'll also view the data within estimated hours as well as actual hours and hours left. And we'll then discuss how workload percentages work within this view specifically. Finally, we'll be going over some important points that are good to know so that you avoid any errors in the future, as well as understanding how to use the system to the best of its efficiency. So I'm just going to share my demo account right here. I'm going to navigate on over to the Resources tab. And under the Resources tab, you have two options. One is the Workload tab, which is what we will be discussing today. So to start off with, I just want to go over all of the different things that you see within this view. First of all, you can see a list of all of your team members that are part of the system. These are all of my team members that have been added to the system. I can also expand on this view. If I expand once, I'm going to see all of the projects that have been assigned to each of these team members. And if I expand further, I'm going to see the activities within those projects that my team has been assigned to. You can also view this data within a specific time frame. So right now we're looking at 2023 because we're going by year. However, if I want to look at these the details of these projects and hours on a weekly basis, I can do it this way. I can even move back and forth right here. So these arrows are going to move me either a week ahead or a week behind. And if I click on today, it's going to take me to the selection that's nearest to today. So within this week, if I click on today, it's going to take me to today, May the 16th, and we're looking at week May 14th to May 20th. You can also do it on a quarterly basis. Again, right now, May is part of the second quarter, and so you're seeing 2 quarters, but you can move up ahead and we'll start from July in quarter 3 and from October in quarter 4. The last option that you have here is a custom date range. So you also have the ability to select specific dates. Let's say I want to start with May the 15th and I want to end in July. I can select a specific date range as well, hit apply, and it's going to show me my details for that specific date range. I also have the ability to decide how I want to view the actual hours right here. So besides having an entire look at a date range, I can also decide whether I'm looking at hours on a daily basis, a weekly basis, or a monthly basis. On a daily basis, it's literally going to split this view by specific day. But if I look at it on a weekly basis, it's going to compile it to show me the week of May 15th to 20th, 21st to 27th. If you'll notice, it is leaving out those weekends because within my system, I have weekends as days off and not as working days. And so it's only going to show me those dates from Monday to Friday. I can also look at it on a monthly basis, which means it compresses it further to show me all of those hours on a monthly basis. The other option I have is to be able to view the data either by actual hours and hours left or by estimated hours. So I can simply click on the option that I want to see right here. And I can also filter through to show me just certain aspects of the system. So if I want to look at, let's say, all of the data for a specific project, I can simply select the project, or I can do it based on users. Let's say you want to look at all of the workload for a specific team member for, let's say, a review or just to understand what their workload is like for that specific month or specific period. You can select the team member. You can also do it based on skills, job roles, and portfolios. Now, this information that you are seeing here is for current projects that are still open. However, if you do want to see, let's say, draft projects, you can simply toggle this on and it's going to also add projects that are still in the draft status. You can also add activities that are on hold or activities without hours. So let's say you've created a task and you've added team members, but you haven't added hours as yet. You can have that be viewed in here as well, which will give you an idea on what the existing workload looks like, and you can assign hours accordingly if required. And you can also look at the hours for completed tasks. So let's say a project has started about a month ago, but it's still running and it's going to get completed in the next month. And you want to look at that snapshot of where you are at in terms of the tasks that have been completed, the number of hours that have been logged for that task, as well as which tasks within that project are still to be completed. This is a good option, and it's going to give you the entire snapshot of that entire project. We've recently also added the option to export this data to Excel. So let's say I have my filters in there. If I'm looking at a specific project or a specific time period, and I want to export this data to Excel, I simply click on Export to Excel, and it's automatically going to download the data for that specific. You also have the option to create a new project from right here itself instead of jumping to the Activity Center to do so. So if you click on New Project, you can either select a template that you want to choose, or you can leave that out and you can create a project from scratch as well. Have your start dates and end dates and simply click Create Project. All right, so now that we've gone through all of the different fields that you see here and what they mean, let's move to distributing hours individually for team members within a project. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to simply select a project to make it easier to view right now. Let's say this project, May to July. It's a project that I've created in the Activity Center, and now I would like to see what my team is working on specific days. So if I expand here, let's say we expand on Brenda Valens, I'm going to expand further to show the tasks which she's been assigned to within this project. There are 2 tasks. Let's pick May the 1st, the task May the 1st. If I scroll on over to those dates, we can see right here that this is a 4-hour task, and the hours have been distributed across the duration of this task. So this task starts on the 23rd of May and it ends on the 25th of May. And we have those hours that have been evenly distributed. However, you do have the option to distribute it in several different ways as well. So let's say I click on the hours distribution tab right here. The first option here is evenly load, which is what you are seeing right now. One thing to keep in mind is that when you create a project and assign it to team members, The default option is that it's going to evenly load those hours through the duration of the task. Now, this is also what we call a peanut butter spread because of that even distribution. I can either keep it this way or I can use the front load option, which means that it's going to pull all of those hours to the front of the task. Now, this is a small task, just 4 hours. But if we were to have this task be 10 hours, and Brenda's daily schedule indicates that she works for 8 hours in the day, it's going to account for that daily schedule, and it's going to pull in 8 hours to the first day, and then the remaining hours are going to be distributed to the second day. If we backload, it's going to do the exact same thing, but it's going to move those hours towards the end of the task, and the beginning of the task will be the minimal hours, in this case, 0. Now, the other option that you have is also to set schedule hours to 0, or what you can do is you can manually change it yourself. So let's say you wanted to add 1 hour here and 2 hours here, and then another 1 hour here. You could do that as well. So you can manually decide how you want to spread those hours, or we can use this fourth option. We can set the schedule hours to 0. We've changed it all to 0. And here on the left-hand side, we can see this box in red indicates to us that we still have 4 hours to schedule for Brenda for the task May 1st. In which case, you can go ahead and manually spread it out again if you want to. Once I've reached that threshold of 4 hours, that red box automatically disappears, which means I have already assigned all of those hours within the duration of this task. All right, so that's how you can go ahead and distribute hours to your team members through the duration of a task. Now, one thing that you might have noticed is we have a workload percentage right here. Now, what this is doing is if I hover over this, it's giving me the available hours. In this case, for Brenda, she is available during this time period for 616 hours, but she has been scheduled for just 34 hours. And so her workload percentage is 5.52%. So it's automatically going to calculate that within the system, and you don't have to do a manual calculation. If you hover over myself right here, you can see that I have a partial workload of 20.5%. And the reason is because I'm available within this time period for 400 hours, but I've only been scheduled for 82 of those hours. And so that is a 20.5%. All right, so that's what the workload percentage indicates within the system. As you go along, it is going to continually change. As you keep adding new tasks and assigning your team members hours within those tasks, it is going to change accordingly and automatically so that you don't have to calculate it yourself. How do you change these thresholds, and what is our recommendation for the workload percentage? So if you do have the permissions to edit these workload percentages, you can do so within company settings. So I'm just going to jump to company settings. I'm going to jump to system lists, and I'm going to jump to resource loading. This is where you can set those thresholds. Now, our recommendation is for you to do this once and not do it on a regular basis. And the reason is because these thresholds are connected to not just the workload management page, but also to reports and dashboards within the system. And so it's not advisable for you to make those changes, as it could alter the accuracy of those reports. If you do have these kinds of changes, the best thing for you to do would be to reach out to us, and we can make sure that when you are making those changes, it's not going to interfere with any of those existing reports or the workload management within your system. Having said that, in order to edit these, you can change the names of these. First of all, if I click here right right here at minimal workload, you have the ability to maybe edit the name. You can also edit the color that's connected to this option. You can also move these back and forth, and you can add additional thresholds. So if I jump right here, I can add a threshold at 10% or a threshold at 35% or a threshold at 65, 80, depending on what I would like to do within the system. So again, this is something to keep in mind if you have the permission to do so. It is not available to everyone within the system. If you are an admin or a project manager, the chances are very high that you have the ability to make changes to these. All right, so that's what we have in terms of the workload management page. There are a few things that are good to know or things to keep in mind to be cautious of when you use this system. One of the things is, as I've already mentioned, to make sure that you aren't changing the workload percentage um, very frequently, unless it has been approved or unless there is an addition that you need to add to this workload percentage. The other thing to keep in mind is that when you are looking at distributing hours, there are two things that need to be set within the system in order to do so. So I'm going to take the example of render valence again here. May 1st, this hours distribution tab is opened up for me. But it's important to keep note that I can only do this when I'm within actual hours and hours left, and when I'm looking at information on a daily basis. So if let's say if I'm within estimated hours, that tab's going to disappear. It's not going to allow me to make any changes. And if I am, let's say, looking at information on a weekly basis, I'm not going to be able to make changes to this either, and that hours distribution tab disappears. So that's something that can only be done when you are within actual hours and hours left, as well as looking at it on a daily basis. The other thing to keep in mind is that the system does take into consideration any vacation time or public holidays that are in the system. Here in Canada, we do have Victoria Day as a holiday, which is the, Monday, the 22nd of May. And so the system has automatically blocked that date out. And if I hover over this dot right here, it's letting me know that this is a day off. Similarly, if I scroll on over to my own view right here, I do have regular vacation that's been added to the system. And so those days have been blocked out for me to be able to take on tasks and projects. So the system does keep in mind when you have vacation and when you have public holidays that have been added to the system. Class, your question on whether the system takes vacations and training days into consideration for scheduling, the answer is yes. As I mentioned, right here, we have a public holiday on the 22nd of this month. And so the system has blocked that day out. And if you hover over it, it is indicating to you that it is Victoria Day and it is a public holiday. And in terms of vacation time and the type of vacation time as well, if I scroll on over to my own tab right here, I have these days blocked out for regular vacation. And if, let's say, it was a training day and that was set up in the system, instead of showing regular vacation there, it would show training day. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that when you are setting up these public holidays or vacation, you can do that from right here in company settings. So under system lists, you have vacation types. So you can add vacation types. We have training program, we have trade show, leave of absence, regular vacation. That can be added, as well as public holidays right here. We have 3 already. We can also add another. Let's say we have 4th of July can be added. And we select the date. And so the system it's showing that it's saved. So if I jump back to the resources tab and I scroll on over to July the 4th, Yeah, right here, July the 4th, it's going to show up as a public holiday as well. We do have a couple of more questions that have come in from Jacqueline and Michael. Both the questions seem to be pretty similar. I can see that Fabian is responding to the question right now. Fabian, would you like to maybe answer so that both questions can be answered and everyone can hear?
Sure, absolutely, Denise. So for Jacqueline, there is essentially one primary calendar you're going to maintain. So if your head office is out of New York and you follow the US vacation, that's what you want to reflect in your public holidays. For those staff that work through satellite offices, maybe you've got staff in UK, Australia, Canada, wherever the case may be, they will be leveraging their My Vacations calendar. So at the start of the year, they go in and they identify the days that they happen to be have a statutory holiday, but you've got, as a business, you've got to decide which one's going to be your primary public holiday. For Michael, is there a way to specify the country that the holiday is for? Yes. What you can possibly do is you can define custom fields or your vacation type. So Denise, if you want to quickly jump in there, go into company settings, vacation types, you can set up vacation types. Again, it kind of ties in with what Jacqueline was pointing out. So if you've got folks that are in the UK that have a vacation, which is clearly different perhaps from the United States, have a vacation type that identifies the UK office. And then the staff in the UK would go into their My Vacations and identify that this is the statutory holiday that applies to the UK office. Yeah, so right here where you get add vacation type, Denise, if you don't mind just adding a couple in there, maybe we'll do one for the UK office and another for the Australian office. Michael and Jacqueline, that's how you would be managing that, right? And then if you could just show on the front end, Denise, now that you've identified that. So let's just say you're operating out of the Australian office. Yep, very good. My settings, vacations. Choose a specific day. There it is.
Right. Do we have any follow-up questions to these or anything else that anyone would like to add before we wrap up? All right. So just another reminder that you can sign up for not just a single workshop, but as many of the workshops as you would like through our events tab on the website or by simply clicking on the link. It's going to allow you to pick and choose the workshops that you would like to sign up for. Also, we are very keen on hearing your suggestions. They're always welcome. If you have any recommendations for topics that you would like to cover in the future, please do so by sending in your responses to our success email. The address is on the screen right now. Thanks everyone for joining today. I hope that this session was helpful and I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great day. Bye-bye.